Good morning, everybody. This is Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest, and today we're going to be asking the question, is Vellus going to be worth it for you? What's in his kit? Is he good? Should you be pulling for him? Let's go ahead and dig in. Now, Vellus is a very good unit, and I'm going to tell you this for one reason, and that reason is because he does have access to Sub Calculator. Now, his main job is going to be Ice Crystal Warrior with Scholar as a secondary sub and Calculator as his third sub. This Calculator sub is so overpowered, though, because it literally has every single calculator ability that you need. There's very few times, I think Black Rose Helena is one of the only exceptions, that Sub Calculator has access to all of the calculator abilities, and Vellus has access to it all. So he is monstrous in terms of farming PvE. He's also going to be monstrous in terms of all the abilities that he has to offer. Let's go ahead, before we get into his kit specifically, let's take a look at his TMR and the weapon that you're going to be able to farm for him. His TMR is going to come in at HP 260, Defense 4, Spirit 8, and Accuracy 12. It's going to be a very good TMR. I'm going to say this is one of the better AP TMRs that you can probably invest in. It's going to decrease AP consumption 25 for 3 turns for allies, and it's going to restore AP 10 for allies as well. Now, this naturally pairs with his ability to heal and grant AP, so he does have a Curaga, a calculator-based Curaga, basically. It kind of has like the calculator's range. It's in his main kit, but it's not a calculator ability. And it does take time to cast, but it does grant 15 AP when he casts that. So if you are running this TMR, and if you are running units that, you know, maybe they have AP reduction in their kit, or they have AP reduction on their TMR runes, they could quite easily have upwards of 35 to 50% AP reduction, depending on what you have set on them. Granting this 10 AP, in addition to granting 15 AP whenever he lands that big cure, is actually going to be really good. And you may look at other options besides bells if you are in like a PvP situation. So that's the first thing. I think this is a very viable piece of gear. It has accuracy on it, which is going to make it powerful as well. Taking a look at the weapon that you're going to be able to farm for him, his primary weapon, it does have accuracy on it on the magic version, which is really important. Comes with magic 170 as well. It's also going to come with spirit penetration 20. Now, this is one of those situations where there's not many other options for a weapon for him, so you're most likely going to be running this no matter what. It's not terrible. He doesn't have a ton of spirit penetration in his kit, so he definitely needs it. He has one ability that gives him spirit penetration 40. So on the best case situation, he's going to be doing like spirit penetration 60 on his highest modifier AoE attack. So keep that in mind. He's not going to have passives for Spirit Pen. He's going to be much more geared towards being defensive, but this is going to give him that little bit of an advantage so that he's not quite left behind like some of the older mage units in the game. Taking a look at his mastery ability, HP 10% for ice allies, ice attack 15 for ice allies. Decreased chance of being targeted is pretty big here. Also decreased skill activation time 300. This can of course be shortened depending on what passive you set on him. And also decreased skill time activation 300 is one of those amounts where for a lot of spells, this could send them into an earlier tier. So if you don't know how CT operates or how activation time works, basically, if you're within like a specific cutoff, you will literally cast a turn earlier. Having deactivation time 300 is like enough for a lot of spells, particularly big spells that take a lot of charging. That would be like 200 cast time spells, to knock at least one turn off. So it is going to be relevant. This is going to be relevant for him since a lot of his primary kit is casting. So keep that in mind. His stats, he gets a nice magic 20%, pretty chonky. He's 15% weak to striking, 5% slash resistance, 10% magic resistance. We are going to see paralysis and sleep resistance with some stun resistance. Really nice, he has kind of a native defense 6 in his kit, a native 12 spirit in his kit, and 573 magic. That spirit and defense is going to make him just that little bit more tankier. Of course, with the amount of spirit penetration running around and defense penetration running around right now, you know, it's questionable how much that will help him. What will help him though is his passive, the Years of Snow. So there's an upgraded version of his passive, Deep Snow. Spirit 12 for self, healing power up 20 for self, and then increase AoE resistance 20. Increasing AoE resistance 20 is one of the most powerful mitigation tools in the entire game right now. So this is one of the most powerful passives you could set on any unit in the game. And because he does have access to Sub Scholar, he actually has access to Scholar's Knowledge as well, which will increase defense 12, which is great. Granted, there's a lot of units with defense pen, but it's going to give that really coveted accuracy plus 20. So he's going to be able to have really good sources of accuracy. There's accuracy on his TMR, there's accuracy on his weapon, there's accuracy in his passive. So if you are going up against those formations with Elena or that light evasion composition, you will have accuracy on him to potentially help in landing a hit on your opponent. He does have access to magic 30%. He also has access to decreased activation time if you are wanting to do that as well. And of course, he has access to both calculator passives, which I think most of the time you're not going to be setting with him just because he has such a variety of good support abilities that you're going to want to nail that instead. For his counters, he basically gets an upgraded version of damage distribution. So it's a 20% chance to proc, absorbs 95% to 121% HP. It's going to be a higher range than the calculator ability. It's going to have less range height though, and it's about the same damage as the counter logos here. So you're going to be setting this no matter what. Drain HP counters, always powerful, particularly on tankier units. I'm really excited to see kind of how tanky he can be made and how his survivability is going to be with this counter passive. Looking into his main kit, we do have Icicle, which is going to be 121% modifier attack here. We have Ice Protection, which is going to be one of his first buffs, which will be magic 40% and grants Protect and Shell. Protect and Shell, of course, is a huge damage mitigation. It's going to keep him alive longer. Now, whether or not you want him to cast this or one of his other abilities is kind of up for debate. I'm also not sure how his AI will handle this. It's pretty well known that Velus's AI is actually really good. That's what I've heard, everything from the JP side about his AI. But really, it's going to have to depend on if you want this Protect and Shell and Magic buff, or if you're going to want him to use his second buffing ability according to the twin stars down here, which is going to grant haste for himself, and it's going to grant haste for an ally. So it's almost like a haste gun that hastes himself and an ally. So you haste 2 units at once. Going to be really powerful in GVG and in other content. Really excited to see this be utilized. I think so far, if his kit hasn't impressed you, you're crazy. This is one of the best kits that has come out in this game in a while. He does have access to Snow Heals, which is basically a huge healing range Curaga. So it's a 210x modifier heal, which is a Curaga heal. It's going to be a huge diamond shape heal with range height 2, AoE height 1. It's going to restore 15 AP for allies as well. So remember, partner this with the previous TMR ability for potential reduction in AP, or potential, AP acquired with TMR runes. Now, there's going to be a lot of things you can mess around with for AP. Now, he doesn't only just have defensive tools in his kit, he has some really powerful offensive tools. So Absolute Zero is a single target, full range height 2 ability, 220% modifier that hits after decreased ice resistance 38% for 2 turns, or for 3 turns hits. So this is an attack that is going to hit after you decrease the enemy's ice resistance. So this is going to be extremely powerful and probably his go-to single target hit. Permafrost, his job level 25 ability. This is going to be the ability with the Spirit Penetration on it. Has Spirit Penetration 40. It's going to be a very large range. Again, very similar to Calculator's abilities. Range height 2, AoE height 1, 220% modifier attack. So this is going to hit, of course, with a total of 60 Spirit Penetration. And it's going to give that Spirit Penetration 40 buff on him for a few turns. So lots of things to kind of look at and admire in this kit. We do want to touch on his limit break real quick, because a lot of people, if they don't see a 100% hit attack, they're like, yeah, I'm never going to pull for this unit. His limit break, 200% modifier attack, does have a 100% hit chance, reduces the physical damage taken by him for 50% for 3 times to self. And look at this range. Can hit up to 5 squares away, range height 1, AoE height 1. This is going to be a monster of an ability, and it's going to give him some really good physical damage taken down. So I think a lot of people are going to find Vellus being really capable and really powerful, potentially with other units as like a survivable support unit. The one thing his kit really doesn't have is full life. That's the biggest drawback, is there's no full life, there's no mortal spirit, there's no re-raise. So he has to survive in order to really be useful. In terms of sub jobs, his main kit has a frostbite ability, which it's worded a little bit weird on WoTV calc, but it's a 45% chance to inflict frostbite. It's a really weird shaped, cross-shaped attack, which could throw some people off in GVG. Decreased chance by 20% if you have at least if you have haste on, or if you have haste for the targets. It's worded weird. I imagine it's plus 20% if you have haste on, is what I imagine this is. ACT break or AP break, ACT from Final Fantasy 14, decreases AP 30x for targets, decreases CT 20x. Again, I don't think you're going to be setting Crystal Warrior sub. I think you're going to be focusing mostly on Calculator sub. Scholar sub is going to have some uses. Again, you're probably not going to want to cast these buffs. Just no matter how good these buffs are, the primary job buffs are going to be better than the Scholar buffs that are available. So I would not consider casting these buffs unless you were going for a very specific strategy. I think most of the time you are going to pass on these. The one time I think you will probably sub Scholar is in some type of group content or PvE, because you're going to have access to the Ice Evocation ability, which is that AoE buff that Scholars have. You don't always see this in the sub kit, which is really nice. It gives Ice Attack 25, Evocation Gauge 60, increased single target resistance 15. So absolutely really powerful buff for your allies. So if you don't need that survivability on him, you're going to be able to use an ability that'll buff damage for the party. Also potentially get your Evocation Gauge going faster. So that would be the only time I really consider running sub Scholar. Does also have attack minus 43% if that's interesting to you, but his entire kit is much higher range than this. I don't think you're going to see him using any of the offensive abilities in here. Sub Calculator, probably the direction everybody's going to go, because you do get access to Blizzaga, you do get access to CT average, you do get access to disable. Literally, you get every single calculator ability, which is very rare for a sub calculator. So this is going to be really the go-to. Honestly, though, you're probably not even going to use some of these abilities unless you're taking advantage of the range height on them, because most of his abilities actually have the same range, the same AoE capacity as the calculator abilities. So it's almost like his primary job is like this weird hybrid of Scholar and Calculator, with the exception that he has to cast all his abilities. So you may only be seeing him use Calculator abilities in situations where the AI dictates that, you know, I need to have access to an instant cast spell here, because spell time is going to cause, you know, this unit to move before this spell is cast, right? So I think that's going to be the primary use of sub Calculator, and I think that's going to be really good in PvP. Now, the question is, should you pull for him? I'm not going to pull for him. I will not pull for Vellus. The reason I'm not going to pull for Vellus is the reason I haven't pulled for Renan, or the reason that I pulled for Jum. No matter how good he is, no matter how relevant he is, Astoria is going to be coming out here in another month. I know I'm going to pull really hard on Astoria. I know on the JP side, they had a 6k paid step up to get 1 Crystal Warrior. So why would I pull and max out Vellus right now, if potentially I could pull on that banner and maybe get Vellus that way, or if I get him while I'm pulling for Astoria, right? So I think there is a good chance I will land him while I'm pulling for Astoria. If not, I may have to take it slow and kind of build him over time or find different ways to get him. But if you're someone who's interested in like competitive PvP, being able to have access to Astoria, Celeste, and potentially Vellus here, going to be really important. Vellus is a very important support unit that you're going to see a lot in PvP formations. I think he's a great PvE unit if you're a new player to the game and you're wanting a unit that's going to be relevant for a long time to you. Vellus is going to be one of those units. We don't have an ice healer. I mean, we do have a few, but we don't have an ice healer that is as good as Vellus is at both being the AI that he needs and also being like the optimal large range, multiple heals. I mean, in theory, you could make Rosa or Frievia do it, but honestly, Frievia is so confusing as a unit with such confusing AI, you're probably not going to see that from her. And Rosa quite often only has access, I think it's like to Curaga and Prayer or something. So she doesn't have the large AoE healing options that you need. She does have access to full life, which is something to consider. And again, is only one of the few things that Vellus is missing, is potentially full life or raise. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you do want to support me, please use my affiliate link, dig.gs/coins or dig.gs/offer. This video is a little bit longer than usual. I tried to combine my unit review with my should you poll review. Let me know if that's something you like down in the description down below, or if you like to have the two separate videos. And I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. I hope to see you on stream later tonight, and I'll catch you guys next time.